let's test for equality and relations within our expressions. Now, we've already seen a little bit of it. What we're going to do is just take a look at the ands, the ors, and the nots. And then we'll also look at how these relationships work and how the relationships of working with the greater than sign, less than sign, and the other ones work as well. This example here is saying if x is greater than 0 and x is less than 1,000, we're looking for a range. Then we want to set this value to 2,000. So as long as x is greater than 0 and it's less than 1,000, that's no problem. That is fitting within a range. If we turn them around and said if x is less than 0 and x is greater than 1,000, then we do something. Well, the value x, because this is getting evaluated twice, can never be less than 0 and greater than 1,000. So this is always going to be false. This is never going to happen. So if x is -1, for example, x is less than 0, so this is true. This evaluates to true. And x is greater than 1,000? No, it's not. It's a negative number. So this is always going to be false. So a false and a true is going to lead to a false, always. So this will never happen. So this is always going to be false. So you want to be careful how you set the mistake. You just want to be careful how you set those up. So you want to test for your range. You're always looking at a greater than here and a less than here. They're pointing inwards. So that's a good way to do that. So and conditions, this is how you write the ands instead of a and d. We're testing an and, a logical and here. And this is how you do or with the pipes. So if x is greater than 2 or x is less than 1,000, then we want to do something else. So can x be greater than 2? Let's set it to 4. Okay. So x is greater than 2. True. X is less than 1,000? Also true. So that's going to always happen. If you switched it around and point them outwards and say, if x is less than 2 or x is greater than 1,000, then do this. So this is more practical based on what we were talking about with the and sign. So that's how you would work with that. Also note that if you want to include something, you're going to do the greater than or equal to or the less than or equal to, and this is going to include that value in what it's going to be testing for. If x is less than or equal to 2, then something. If x is greater than or equal to 1,000, then do something else. So this is going to include that 1,000 using an or. Include the 2 using an or. Less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. So a little bit of a logical thing going on within that. Now you can also test for equality with the double equal sign. This is going to check to see whether or not x is equal to 1,000. Be careful of doing this with just one equal sign because you're going to assign x is equal to 1,000. So if this assignment can go through, it's going to be true, but it's actually going to change x to be 1,000. You don't want that. You want to test for equality here, or test for the condition x is equal to 1,000. So that's how you can process that one as well. And different variations. If you want to use the not sign here, a simpler way of using not is down here. We'll explain that first and then go back up. So we have a Boolean b, and we set it to false. So now we come through and test with this symbol here, exclamation point. We're saying we want to reverse this. So we're saying if not b, then we want to write something out here. Let's see what that does. Not b is true. How did we come up with that? So b is actually false, but when you say not b, you're doing the opposite and you're saying true. So not b is actually true, and b is false because we set it to false. So not b is true, but b is false. So a little bit of a paradox there, but when you look at it here, we're setting not b here. If it's false and you do not b, this is going to evaluate to true. Therefore, we can perform this statement. Not b is just a string here, so it doesn't do anything. But this not b, you can also put not b here for your console to write out. Show the opposite Boolean of what it is, of what it evaluates to. Very handy. So that's where we get that not b. So actually here, false, not b, this is actually going to evaluate to true, and it's going to be able to be used within this statement. And at the last one, if we change this to true, and we rerun this, only b is true as output. So because b is true, not b is actually false, which means this won't get executed because this condition is false. If we had an else condition, then the else condition would get executed. We don't, so this is going to just follow as the normal process flow of our program here. B is true. So B is true. That gets output. No problems. So not is going to change the value of the expression, whatever is in the parentheses, or of a Boolean value. It's going to change it to the opposite. So if x is greater than 2 is actually saying if x is not greater than 2. We've changed it from this, x is greater than 2, to not greater than 2. Very simply. Be careful with the less than or equal to signs when you're working along, because they actually change things as well. So if x is greater than 2, no. If x is not greater than 2, or x is less than 1,000, then do something. Just another way to look at it. Just note that it's on the outside of the parentheses. So like I said, when this gets evaluated, true or false, then just flip it around, make it the opposite, and then this is evaluated, and then you do the or. So this is evaluated to true or false, or something else gets evaluated. And then overall, the whole thing gets evaluated. Just different ways to look at it, and ways to work within the C# language with your operators and testing conditions.